Welcome to the Milk and Honey with Lemon podcast. I'm your host, Lemon Price, creator of the Holy Girl Habits, wife and mama, and certified life and leadership coach who turned away from corporate life to embrace kingdom leadership. This podcast is for Christian women feeling the weight of their divine callings, grappling with doubts of their leadership abilities, and searching tirelessly for biblically grounded guidance who want to step confidently into their roles as radiant kingdom leaders. Inside, we're going to traverse from those feelings of uncertainty and overwhelming searches, moving toward firm biblical leadership, empowering you to steward your gifts, and showing you that you indeed have what it takes. So, sister, grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea, and let's dive in together. Hey friend, welcome to Milk and Honey with Lemon. The Bible says in Numbers 14:8, and if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into that land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey. On this podcast, we talk about stepping into that overflow that God has for us by becoming those ultimate Proverbs 31 women. Hey, I'm Lemon. I am just like you, sister friend. I knew God had something more in store for me, but I couldn't see a way out of the laundry piles. And frankly, I resented that Proverbs 31 woman. How was I going to live up to the hype? That is until I found out how to really step into becoming this Proverbs 31 woman through leadership development. In this podcast, you're going to find financial freedom, leadership growth, and motivation so you'll be able to do all the things God has called you to do with ease and really step into that land of milk and honey. Welcome back to the Milk and Honey podcast. I'm your host, Lemon Price, and today I'm so excited because I have one of my favorite people on, Brandie Thomas. She's been on here before. You guys know her. You love her. She is my sister that I didn't know I needed and one of my closest friends. And I'm just so excited to have you here. So thanks for being here, Brandie.
I always love coming on your podcast, and anytime I get to talk to you, it's like a joy in my life.
I wish you guys could see the 17 different conversations we always have going on at one time. Actually, It's funny because Glenn and I were talking about this last night. For those of you who don't know, Brandie was sending me mass amounts. We will each send each other reels on Instagram on a regular basis, like daily. But then we also have a different conversation going on in Telegram, and we'll have a different conversation going on like texting, and then we'll call each other and have a completely different conversation. There's always multiple conversations going on. And Glenn last night, he was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "You guys all need help." How do you keep track of all of the different conversations you guys have going on? And I was like, we just do.
I think my favorite is when we text each other and then we'll switch over to Telegram within the same 5-minute conversation.
Literally, it's so funny. You guys would love to be a fly on the wall of our conversations. Like we're like a fun time. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think we're a fun time. But I'm excited because I got to know you in a slightly different context over the summer, which is exciting. So Brandie was part of our super fun anthology that we put out. But I wanted Brandie to come on and talk about her story, her chapter, and why she picked those specific things. So Brandie, do you want to give us a little insight to the chapter that you wrote, my friend?
Sure. So my chapter was about leading up to the adoption and the actual adoption of my son, Elijah. And so I was discussing the duality of the joy of that journey and also the heartbreak and trauma and all the difficult emotions that also come in line in step with that joy. So it was a lot of duality of emotions of happiness and grief at the same time. And then also just sharing first my story that I had never really verbalized to anybody. And yeah, it was definitely a grieving journey for me. Like actually writing my story out was very therapeutic, and I literally cried writing the first half of my story. I woke up at 4 a.m. at a hotel room between my husband and son, and was just like typing away. I just needed to get it out. God had given me the words, so I was like, "All right, let's go."
I love that. I love that you said it was like a grieving process too, like writing this chapter, because I feel like, I don't know, do you feel like it was like cathartic to sit and put all of your feelings like pen to paper, or I don't know, keyboard to,
keyboard to Google Doc. Yes. Just like getting, I am a writer and I like to journal and I've written other things. And so getting the words that had been ringing in my mind for so long, like actually out, definitely was helpful. And I think it was helpful to go back and process that time that I went through with myself, with God, with my faith, and like the wrestling and the surrendering and all of the things that come with your infertility and adoption journey. There's so many unknowns. There's so much just like we have an open adoption. So just navigating that as in the beginning, it's beautiful. Like I love our open adoption and our story is like really beautiful. Just how God just divinely orchestrated every step and turn of it. Then when you're in it, it's like really hard because you don't know when the next thing's going to happen. And there was like a really dark period, like literally in my memories, it's just blackness. And it's just like me and God, Jesus. That's all I can say about that. It's just like so much darkness. And it's just me wrestling with God. Then like things like started to happen really fast. So it was just cool how looking back, seeing how our timeline to adoption was actually very short. Like it was less than a year process. But in the middle of it, you're like, every day feels like a year. And the waiting, you're not just waiting for a child, you're also wrestling the unmet expectations, the unmet timelines, the fear, your own insecurities. And so that was a lot of what I was personally battling in my faith at that time with God, of just laying it on the line and not being a good Christian girl and actually showing up and like, I am ticked off. I actually stole one of your quotes and then I have it in the background. It's like, Jesus, you can just kick rocks with open-toed shoes. And I was like, yes, that's exactly how I feel right now about Jesus. And that's such a deep part of my story because it was really when I learned like God was big enough for my emotions and the hard questions and the imperfection and the brokenness. And he just was there holding me the entire time. It's such a beautiful representation of the relationship that I have with him now.
I love this. And I love that you're vulnerable in the chapter 2 to be like, yeah, like I was angry with God. Like I'm mad at Jesus. I think, and I like too that you're like, listen, I put this like good Christian girl thing aside. I did a whole podcast episode on the good Christian girl persona. And it's okay to be like, God, like I'm really angry right now, or I don't understand. And I think it's okay. I don't think enough people say it's okay to be mad at God. I don't think it like changes necessarily the relationship in a negative way. I think it's honest, right? Like I can tell my husband I'm mad at him. I can tell the other important people in my life that I'm mad at them. Why couldn't I go to God and be like, all right, angry about this situation that I'm in?
Yeah, I was not. It was a turnaround. I was kicking, punching, cussing. And I just, the picture was just like God with his arms open. And I'm just like punching his chest and like going at it with him. And then it's like if you've ever parented or witnessed like a kid just like kicking and screaming, and then finally they just melt into like the arms of the person that hopefully is there safely there to protect them. That's what it felt like. It was like, God was just my dad out with my dad. And I was just being so angry and upset with what he was doing to me. And then I just melted into his arms because I was just like, you're also who I need in this moment.
I love that. Okay, so where are you at, like with God in this fertility journey and the adoption? Like, where are you at now? Because Elijah's running his own show now. To be honest, if you got Elijah, is so funny. He's 100% going to be a worship leader someday or something because he's always like singing and praising Jesus, and he's full blown like worship pastor. So like, where are you at now, like with God, and like, how is it different? Did it change your relationship with God in the present by like reflecting on your journey?
Good question. So at this point, we're like 8+ years now into our infertility journey, and Elijah's 4.5. And so it almost like part of me almost felt like 4 years now have gone by and I'm still at the same place in the waiting. And so I'm actually going through a whole nother grieving journey, and I've hired a great counselor who's amazing. And we do a lot of deliverance work with that as well. So I would just say, if you're a Christian, find a Christian counselor who's also prophetic in deliverance, because it just makes your healing journey like so. There's just so much freedom that I'm gaining from doing some of the prayer work that we do in our sessions with forgiveness, and then also just literally going into spiritual warfare battle and breaking things off my bloodline. Raising Elijah honestly triggered a lot of things inside of me that were unhealed and parts of my story that were just unheld and I didn't hold space for. And so I'm on a level like 2.0 healing journey with my fertility because I think God has more in store for me. But again, it's just like before we can adopt Elijah, I had to go into this space of surrendering and he had to heal some broken parts of me. And it's okay. We got through that level of healing and now you couldn't handle the full healing at that time. I think sometimes God can, like, he can take the leprosy away. He can heal the broken leg. He can do the healing in the immediate. But I feel like your character and emotional healings typically take longer because he is literally, if you look at the disciples, right, he didn't take Peter's anger away. He didn't like take his outbursts away in one moment. It was a character development. It was in the relationship that Peter became that disciple that God knew he was at the very beginning when he first stepped off the boat. And so it's been like that for me with my journey of just, okay, we're going to heal in this area. And now that part's done, let's go to the next level because there's deeper roots and just things in your life and in your story that we were able to address then. And so I feel like I'm at a level in my healing where we are getting down to the roots of things and we are pulling things out. And I'm taking that authority and dominion over my healing and over fertility. And it's really cool because I think God is leading me into the gift of healing over different ailments and especially for barren women. And he's had me pray for pregnant women. And there's been 2 women that have actually gotten pregnant. And I'm not saying it was my prayer alone, but it was just really cool to me to be like, God prompted me to pray over these wombs. And then they were pregnant. So it's really cool from that perspective. But again, it's like, all right, God, why is that working for me? So there's still, I think, grieving and healing that needs to occur personally. But it's also really cool for God to start revealing, I'm going to use you for bigger things. And I'm taking you through this journey because you need to have authority over these spaces.
I'm so proud of you for just the work that you've done and the vulnerability too. And like your chapter was really vulnerable. And Molly always says that like your story is meant to be mentorship for somebody else. And so I love that you're taking this fertility struggle that you guys are having and then using it to go and bless other people and praying for other women like that. It's hard, right? Like I get it. I'm also like, I have no biological children. I won't have biological children because of my hysterectomy. And sometimes it's hard. Like when like your best friend is pregnant or like your sister is pregnant and you're like, God, like why not? Okay. So I would love to know because this was the first book that we put out with KA too. So what was that experience like for you and my friend? Because we did it fast too.
Yeah.
When did we start that? May? I think it was the beginning of May. And we started that project. It was a really fast turnaround time, like 4 months total. So I would love to know your experience in that whole process.
Going back to the very beginning, when I got on the call to see what this new project was about, I was like on the call, I'm not going to do this. I've already done an anthology, been there, done that, checked it off my bucket list. And I was just praying, God, what would I even write about? I don't have anything. And then he just dropped Elijah's. He's like, Elijah, into my story. I think I even texted you after. We were probably texting actually while the call was happening. And then a bunch of crap just happened in my life. Of course, like when you decide to do something, like just crap hits the wall. So I was like dealing with that and we got it all sorted out with Michelle for me to join the project because there was different requirements that you had to meet. And so I was able to meet those requirements and I think we worked out a unique way for me to do that. The writing part was honestly easy because I already knew what I was going to write about. You have 4,500 words or so. And I had been thinking about it in my head. So I already knew how I was going to start the chapter. My husband was away for a work trip and he had his own hotel room. So Elijah and I just kind of tagged along on that journey. And I just felt the Spirit just like waking me up, get this out now, grab your laptop, write it down. Like it was to the point where it was just in my head so much, I just needed to physically get it out. And so I wrote, I don't even know, I wrote at least like probably a page or two that first morning. I just had to emotionally, I was literally bawling. And Jeremy at one point was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Go back to sleep. Fine. Leave me alone." And then I just sat down and finished the story, because the rest of the story wasn't, it was just more of the chronological timeline and sharing how the adoption came to be, like just how the crazy way that God divinely orchestrated every step of it. So I'd say the beginning story was probably the hardest part for me to write. And then there's another part where my family throws me a baby shower. That was really awkward for me personally. And so that was probably another harder part for me to write, just because I had never shared those emotions, right? Like baby showers are supposed to be happy and joyful, and you can't be crying while you're opening presents. And oh, by the way, how weird is it to be opening presents for a baby? So there was a lot of internal, I think, struggle and insecurities that I was dealing with in that moment that I didn't share with people, because I didn't want people to feel pity me or feel bad for me. And I didn't want to ruin the experience, because people generally were so excited and wanted to just love me and support me. And so the intentions were good. But again, this full story is the duality of juggling the duality of this beautiful moment, this dream come true, while also holding space with this is not how it's supposed to be. And there's something unnatural about this. And there's a loss here at the same time that I'm having a gain. So yeah, I think just trying to weave and really explain the duality that I was experiencing, that was my goal. Was I just wanted to try to bring that into writing.
I'm really proud of you, friend. And you guys should read her chapter. It's so good. I had somebody who was on the launch team, and she said, I read yours and Brandie's chapter, and it's so good and it's so moving. I got a bunch of texts about how good your chapter was from launch team people. So I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of this project. Where can everybody go to connect with you? And I will leave a link for you guys to buy the book. Just go get it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I would say probably just my website, which Lemon can drop in the show notes because it's a mouthful, but it's victoriousentrepreneursrising.com. And that's where you can just get all the things that I do. And then if you want to follow on social, I'm on Facebook as Brandie Thomas, and that's Brandie with an IE. And Instagram is at Live Victorious. But those are pretty much the two places I hang out currently. Yep.
I love it. Go and hang out with her. She's fabulous and talks about all these like very deep and intense things, which shouldn't surprise you given her chapter. So just thank you for being here, friend. Again, I'm so insanely proud of you for just sharing this story, and the way in which you told it was beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you were a part of this project.
Thank you.
Hey friend, what a joy it has been to share today's journey with you. If you found a spark of inspiration or a nugget of wisdom that resonated, would you bless someone else by sharing this episode with them? It could be the encouragement they need to step into their purpose and calling. Also, if you could spare a moment to leave a review, it would mean the world to me. I really appreciate your feedback, and it really helps our community grow. Remember, the road to discovering God's call for you isn't one you have to walk alone. So join me again next Monday for another episode where we'll continue to explore the depths of leadership and the heights of our heavenly calling. Until then, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep trusting in His plan. God bless you, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye, friend. Thank you so much for listening to the Milk and Honey with Lemon podcast. I am so grateful you were here. I hope this episode has helped you move from feelings of doubt and uncertainty towards stepping confidently into your God-given leadership role, fully equipped with biblical wisdom. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to reach and inspire more Christian women leaders just like you. Don't forget to share your takeaways, post it on Instagram, tag me anywhere you're on social media, and I'll see you next week.